Hello, and welcome to another Reddit overview. I enjoyed the last one so much before Christmas. I thought, hey, why not? That's not a correct sentence. Why not do that again? There you go. That's the right word order for that. So, for those of you who don't know me and are coming across me for the first time, my name is Lewis English. I'm a change and growth consultant. I work with councils, charities, businesses, and organizations to help them grow their businesses in sustainable ways and change their businesses to improve employees, employers, mental health, and the people who use the services and businesses to get them to use those services more and to have a better experience when they do. So today I've picked 4 topics at complete random. The way I like to do it is I come onto Reddit. I will go to r/small business UK. I go right to the top, and what I do is I click the best of the last month. And so I pick some things that I think I might have, just from the title alone, think I might have something to say. And then we go through it together and see what we can learn, both from, hopefully from my experience, but also learning from what the amazing people on Reddit say, whether we learn from what they're actually saying or from me saying that what they're saying is not the way that I would do it. That's the difference. But yes, so the first one we have here is a really interesting one. It's simply called minimum wage, minimum effort. Struggling at the moment with our staff, they want to do the bare minimum and even less. Constantly dragging out tasks, constantly trying to do as little as possible. I'd love to pay them more, but over the last 4 years of operating, it's been a series of ups and downs, and we have been on a down for the last 6 months from the forecast, and April is going to be even more of a struggle. What do I do? No money to motivate and salaried. Small company, so no progression other than the promise of more money in the future, which never seems to come. I think, and I'm going to read some of the comments below, but my initial reaction to this is there is a complete misunderstanding of what a leader should be doing. What he or she is talking about here, what the owner is talking about here, is such a transactional management effect. Struggling, they're doing the bare minimum and even less. It feels like they're also talking about, I don't know, snakes in a glass box. That there doesn't seem to be any interaction. They seem to be making big wild assumptions, but I'm not getting any thought here that they're trying to engage with them, trying to understand what genuinely motivates them. There's definitely 100% a us and them feeling to the 3 paragraphs here. That I am the boss and I pay them and therefore they should do the work. Big problem with minimum wage is that it's called minimum wage, and so it implies psychologically that you do the minimum amount of work. Now that's not why it's called minimum wage, but it's the bare minimum. And so asking your staff just to do more without providing them a reason to do so, and whether that reason is emotional, whether it's strategic, whether it's bonuses, whether it's money, whether it's flexible working, whether it's being able to pick your kids up at school, these are all genuine things that can motivate. But sitting here right now with the information that's been provided, there's no way to say how those employees actually feel. What it sounds like to me is that the business is struggling. So you've seen we've been operating for 4 years, had ups and downs. We've had a down for the last month. For me, that implies that the owner does not know why it goes up and does not know why it goes down. It's now been down for 6 months, and he's already, they're already focusing on April, which is 4 months away, And that's going to be a struggle. Now, they're asking for help, and that's great. Should they be asking on Reddit? Probably, but they should be asking other people as well. The, the issue for me here is one of leadership. And let's have a look quick down um, at the comments and see what they say. So, do you ever take them to the pub, bring them a big cake from Costco, leave early for the day, give them a free day off like Christmas Eve? Hopefully, you're not turning up in an agricultural style vehicle like a Land Rover or in a BMW. That would demote me as an employee. That is really interesting because that's highlighting that us and them, and that's something that Not Out to Lunch has thought by reading this. And so the next one is put yourself in their shoes for a moment. Minimum wage, no career progression, and repeated empty promises of pay rises to come. If you were in that position, what would motivate you to do more than anything, more than the bare minimum requirement? Again, another KTA has come up with a fantastic thing, which is empathy. Are you in a contract with people who work for you where you think I pay you and therefore you will do what I say? And there's this element of ownership there. And actually, the ownership that I think should be within businesses is a collective ownership of where we're going. Has he gone to these employees and asked, what can we do better? How can we make more money? What is it that we're trying to do? How can I get you involved? Or does he see himself as a lord or a baron or a king that kind of says, this is the way that the business is going to do, and this is the way it's going to go down? And for me, and what's interesting is that I'm automatically defaulting to he here, because actually it it's more of a male thing. And when I've gone into businesses, the majority of business owners who have that complete lack of empathy and understanding, from my perspective, have been on the male side. Um, there needs to be an element of sympathy and empathy and understanding. Here, are you having regular appraisals and giving them targets and performance feedback? That's another great question. Are we just letting that? It feels to me at this very top here that they want to do the bare minimum and even less, constantly dragging out tasks and constantly trying to do as little as possible. There's so much wrong with that sentence. There's so much wrong that says, well, they're doing. Firstly, you know, at a very basic level, you know that they're doing the bare minimum, and you seem to be doing nothing about it up until now. There's been, it feels to me, limited discussion as to how we can grow it forward. And the way that I always like to do it, so when I go into a business, whether it's struggling or not, I always like to do the following things. An owner will come to me as a business change and growth consultant, a business consultant, and say, we've got issues. I either know what they are or I don't know what they are, but growth is too quick or too slow. And so we need to come up with a way to better manage the company. Can you help? And my standard practice of this is to initiate a conversation with the ownership. So that there might be multiple directors, there might be a board. Have a 1 or 2 hour discussion with them to get the lay of the land, to see how they understand their business, what they do understand, what they don't understand, what are their questions to the part-time staff, the people at the lowest parts of the organizational structure. And I ask them about their job. What is it they do? Who is their manager? Do they have multiple managers? Why are they here? What do they want? Do they want to progress? Are they very happy? You get an absolute wide range of responses. Everything from, I've been in some terrible jobs, but I love this one. I like the fact that I'm in charge of a particular thing and I do that, whether it be cleaning or warehousing or admin or finance or whatever. I'm really happy here. I do a good job, but I'm not interested in growing. You have some people who've come in and said, no, in 3 years I want to be a manager, and this is why, and this. And what you do then is, rather than going straight to the top and working your way down, you start to see how the business outputs actually work, how and you ask questions like, are you happy in your job? What could be done to make your job better? Is there anything that we could solve? And what you're doing is you're generating the problems, but you're also generating the solutions. And if the person there just has problems but no solutions, at a lower level, that's fine, because to effect, they're not being paid to be, or they're not in a position to be free thinking people. And so I wouldn't immediately say that that's a problem. But what I would say is the higher up you get, the more you would expect people to be problem identifiers, but also solution providers. And one of the things I say a lot to kind of middle management, but I probably wouldn't say to the kind of employees at the output level is, well, that's a great problem you've brought me, and this here on Reddit is a great problem that's been brought, which is low productivity, low growth, low turnover, low profits, a lack of leadership, a lack of management. My question is, what do we do about it? And for me, my response on Reddit to this person would be, what does your business actually look like? And not from your position at the very top of the business, but at every level. Have you gone and spoken to people and been honest with them and say, listen, I understand at the moment it feels like this company is struggling. What do you think we can do to make this better? What aren't we doing that we should? What frustrates you? And by asking those questions and accepting those responses and that feedback and working on that feedback, I think we'll have a much stronger business going forward. But also, it feels like they don't know why they're not making any money. And so there might be, and the reason why they don't want to ask this question, it might be that that business isn't viable and doesn't work and is structurally unsound. But they need to know that. They need to understand that first, because they're working on a business that they don't understand. And so they may enact things, let's take a car as an example. Your car makes a noise. None of the lights have come on the dashboard, but your lights make a noise. You immediately, because you don't know anything about the situation, replace the brake pads. Still makes the noise. Why? Because you never investigated and understood what the problem was, or come up with a good solution of how to solve it. And if you just go and change the brake pads first off, and it's the alternator or the starter motor, great, but you're kind of poking in the dark. So my thing for him would be, do a full deep dive on the business, work out why it was up 6 months ago and it's down now, and why they think it's going to be down, and speak to your employees and start that collegiate leadership dialogue and understand what it is and why they are working the bare minimum and even less. And also, if you're paying minimum wage, that's what you expect. If you pay, you shouldn't expect people to work more than you pay them if you're not going to provide them with either passion, strong leadership, an honest pathway to delivery, and an honest pathway of career progression for them, for what they want to do. And how they are motivated might be very different than you as a leader are capable of providing. And that is known as culture. And if you have a culture, great. But it seems here like the culture is either non-existent or, even worse, toxic. Cool. So that was the first one. Let's have a look at the second one. Starting a food takeaway business, about 82% profit margin on main meals. However, it drops to 60% including VAT, and as low as 30% including Uber, and just eats commission if I use them. Is this about average? For example, a goat curry including rice and peas and coleslaw, I plan to charge $13.99. It cost me £2.50. Okay, so what's interesting here is how businesses, and not just this business, but majority of business, see tax and overheads as part of their business. So I've been told on multiple occasions that people have had unexpected tax bills. Unexpected tax bills are impossible. The government sets out every year, usually every decade, what money they want from you, when and how. And they'll even give you a percentage that says this. What's interesting here is he's not including, or this person, sorry, is not including any of the things that one would include as part of their running costs. And so they're saying that it's an 82% profit margin. And what they're basically saying is if they're selling it for £14 and they're making it for £2.50, then their profit, in inverted commas, is around 80%. But they're including VAT. So the idea that they came up with was useless from the start, because VAT, for those who don't know, on goods you have to pay 20%. If you are a business over, I think it's £85,000 at the moment, you have to register for VAT. Sometimes it's useful to register for VAT before then, and it adds 20% onto, from a customer's point of view, and from a individual customer point of view. So, for example, that gets paid by the person buying the goat curry, and it automatically gets added on, and that's it. So in the US, you would get, it would be $11.99 and then $2 of tax. In the UK, it has to be put on altogether. Now, if you're a business, you can take off VAT, and that's a different conversation. So because this person always has to pay VAT, then the profit margin, from my perspective, and working out how we run the business, is it was never 82%. So it's now 60% including VAT, and as low as 30% including Uber and Just Eat. So what they're not doing as well is they're not including delivery. So what's interesting here is when they've set up the business, it feels to me like they've not included all of their costs and overheads. And if somebody came to me as a business and said, hey, for every pound you make, you're going to get 82 pence, I'd go, that sounds like an amazingly brilliant idea, and I'm going to do that because that sounds, that's fantastic. But that was never true, and it was never the case. And if you're looking at business viability, how useful my business is, 30% might not be enough. And so you've started a business where you expected there to be 82 pence in the pound for you to do what you need to do, and now there's only 30 pence in the pound. So that's potentially a 52p loss on every pound you make from what you initially thought. And part of this is a huge problem in the UK, is the complete lack of business education in schools that relates to this kind of thing. You can take business studies and you can take business. I've known people who have been very well educated, but because they were always going into a job, they've never learnt about corporation tax. That's not included here. They don't know about insurances and overheads and VAT, and how to pay yourself, and then national insurance. So that's my thought here, is that when they potentially initially started the food takeaway business, they haven't included all of the things that they thought they were going to be, and that's partly a miseducation on the government and school side, but also there isn't that much resource out there for people to learn this before they start a business. So let's have a look at what some people have said here. So have you done a cash flow and profit and loss forecast for the next 12 months? Do these prices take into account the national minimum pay rises? What's your expected annual turnover? How can you longer remain as non-VAT registered and accumulate some? So yeah, it for me, and actually what's really good here is that they've responded. And the horrible thing about most of Reddit is that people pop these things on and never respond. So let's have a look at see what's happening and see where they're up to. So yes, I've done all of those. They're looking decent without deducting VAT and the 30% commission. That's not how profit and loss works. So profit and loss has to include all of your outgoings for the entire time that you're working on. It feels like they've got almost a mindset issue of not understanding that VAT is not your money. It's never your money. VAT, I've always described VAT as you are a free tax collector for the government. That's all that VAT does for you. The 30% commission, if that's how they are selling their wares, if that's how they're selling their goat curry, and that's what people are going to be going for, that 30% has to be included in the profit and loss. Because if it's not, then it's an expense. So for me, there's a mind shift that needs to take place here that moves that VAT and 30% from outside of the business to inside the business and on the profit and loss sheet. So yes, the price is taken into account that, although the first 6 months would be reduced wages. I don't know what that means, but I can see a very large red flag. When your wages, I don't know what reduced wages, does that mean people are earning less? Does that mean people are working less? I don't understand. If I was a business consultant for this person, I would immediately ask the question of what that means, because a lot of new businesses don't understand employment law and HR and the national minimum wage and what that means, and all of that stuff. And it's really difficult, and it's legal, and it's binding, and you have to do it. And so when you don't do it, you can get in serious trouble. So annual turnover is estimated to be around 240,000, around 6 to 7 months based on current estimate. I only estimate 40 sales a day across the entire menu for the first 3 months, then 80 for the next one. I would love to know where they have got that information from. Have they gone and looked at other businesses? Have they gone to libraries and organizations who have done deep dive estimates on takeaway? How much are they spending here on getting the word out there and getting those good reviews and getting that buzz and all of that kind of stuff. But the idea that you're going to get 40 sales a day from day one, flat rate for 3 months, doesn't make much sense to me. And so another question I will be asking is, where has that sales projection come from, and what happens when you don't meet it? So when you don't meet it, when you're not making 40 sales a day, what are your overheads? How does all of that work? So I will have a look into things, possibly straight up avoid Uber and Just Eat. That can be an option, but that limits you. Again, these are where your things go up and down within the business. So, okay, so we're not going to use Uber. We're not going to use Just Eat. That reduces the amount of people who know about us massively. The shop front of Uber Eats, for all of its negatives, for all of its issues with workplace, with workers on gig economy and all of that kind of stuff, it's a fantastic, oh, I want food, I'm going to open my app and order food. Oh, look, I'm absolutely starving for some goat curry, I'm going to order it on that. Brilliant, fine, that's 20 seconds and nobody needs to leave the house, and it's something they've used before, it's something they trust, and therefore they will click a button and it's almost automatic. So that 30% could be really good if we go back a stage. If we can up our 40 sales a day to 120 sales a day, that sounds like a lot for a brand new business, but we take 30% off because of Uber Eats, is that better than 10 sales per day, but we make an extra 30%? Without doing all the maths, probably. And yes. And if you're getting regular things through, because Uber Eats is great, fine. But if Uber Eats is a living nightmare for you and doesn't pay you, and I'm not saying they do or they don't, but you need to look at how that's where the market analysis comes in. That's where the tough talking and understanding. So when taking into account only the 20% VAT is profitable, only losing 500 for the first 3 months, then making 2,000. There's an obsession with VAT here that I think probably would need to kind of delve into with this person. So let's have a look what some other people have said here. So most restaurants or takeaways increase their prices on Uber. Yep, that is exactly true. So there you go. So this is good market research that Shorty EU has done. There's a lovely burger place that charges £9 on Uber Eats and £6.80 for collection. If I was to do the maths on that, you're probably looking at about covering it. So that's great. Perhaps you could increase your prices on Uber. Uber, unfortunately, isn't worth doing, as there's definitely a discovery network. There you go. And then switch to the takeaways. So that kind of. So for me, the lessons here are proper understanding of what profit and loss is and where your overheads are and what costs are to you. A misunderstanding that tax is yours until you pay it. It was never yours. It was always going to be paid. And so something like that, which is flat 20%, is interesting. And my question would be, thinking about it, why are you VAT registering now? You're a food takeaway business. There's no way you've made your 80, 85, 90,000 pounds worth of VAT. At the moment, all you're doing is adding 20% onto your business because, unlike businesses, customers can't offset the VAT. So for me, I feel like there's a couple of big red flags here that I would love to talk to this person about and say, hey, this is actually how business works. Because for me, it feels like they're hoping and wishing for a different style of VAT and tax, and that's just not the thing. So 5, 10 minutes left. Let's do a bonus round. So, what are your best business tips? I'll go first. I'm going to try and react to these as quickly as possible without going into long explanations on things. So, no matter your size, you should be doing daily income sheets for delivering work. For me as a trade business, with monthly profit and loss records going through the main expense categories on your QuickBooks or equivalent software. I personally do this on a spreadsheet. It's guaranteed to make you more profitable. Yes, I agree. Knowing exactly where your business is at all times is great. So for me, it's really easy. So we work on bigger projects that they get paid to us, usually in blocks. So they'll do it monthly, or they'll do it quarterly, or we'll have a project, and that'll be X amount of money. And so all of that goes into my free agent, which is a bookkeeping software. I know when things are coming in, when things are going out. Whenever I pay for something, I automatically put in there. So any outgoings, whether that be staff or subcontractors, I get those in as well. And what that allows me to do also includes corporation tax, also includes VAT, also includes anything else that I need to be worried about. And it gives me an, quote, estimate, and it's never perfect on. And when you then send it to your accountant, they will either say you've over-egged it or you've not over-egged it. And that makes me understand where my business is, what money I've got to play with, what can I spend on growing the business, what can I spend on myself, what can I spend on hiring someone. Those are all really important. And if you understand, the more you know about your business, the better. And at the end of every year, your accountant's going to come in and want to file your accounts and file your VAT report every 3 months, and they're going to want to know in great detail exactly how much money you've spent, why you've spent it, so that they can try and offset things and make sure that you're compliant with HMRC for VAT and tax. So yeah, that's super important. And especially, and it gets harder and harder the more you sell of something. So if you're selling 1,000 things a day, you need to make sure that you have that all up to date more regularly. For an organization like mine, which is a consultant, we probably have less than 100 invoices a year. There are some companies out there that will have 100 transactions per day. And if you're really good, if you're someone like McDonald's or Starbucks, potentially 100 per hour. And then you're going to start having to look at EPOS services or big kind of CRM systems and all of that kind of stuff. So sell expensive things to people who can afford it. That's pretty simple. That's customer wants thing they value and has the money to buy it. That's a really fundamental thing for businesses. Make more than you spend. Capitalism. That's how it works. Thank you for coming for my TED Talk. I enjoyed your TED Talk, Mysterious Foods 7050. Raccoon number 5339. Don't hire friends. Yes. Don't hire friends, don't hire partners of existing friends, don't hire anyone you met in the pub, don't hire anyone who bashes previous employer in an interview. Interesting. Yes, so level of professionalism with the bottom one. With friends, sometimes with a family business, it can be hard. We've worked with several businesses that have either siblings or parent, son and daughter relationships, or friends. There was one organization that had created such good bylaws for the business so that no one could come in and affect them, those two people, as the owners. And at the moment, at that time, they were engaged. And my job was to come in and try and sort it out because that relationship had broken down personally, and they'd never put anything in place from a business perspective to say what happens when we don't like each other anymore. So they'd spend so much time protecting themselves from investors and poachers and IP people that they never thought that they wouldn't like each other anymore. And so that can be a really difficult thing. And yeah, it's a struggle when you really like someone and they're not doing a good job. And you have to kind of say, well, is this working for me? Is this working for you? Because that won't destroy the business relationship. It can solve the personal relationship as well. And that's a real problem. Get an accountant. Yes. I tell people to get an accountant almost immediately when setting up a business. You won't use them for a year. They probably won't charge you for a year at least. But I am not. I'm very good at statistical analyses, and I'm very good at other people's businesses. One of the things I have is a bit of a blind spot for making sure my accounts are up to date. And so I am very vigilant, as I said before, making sure that my free agent is always up to date, because I have this grip of fear. If you get an accountant, they will do it at the end. What you might also need is a bookkeeper. The difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant is a bookkeeper will do things as you go along. So an accountant will rarely put in the items, get the invoices, attach them to the particular item, and then get everything sorted. They will come in at the end of the year, or from a VAT related thing at quarter, check things, and they will expect it to be right. How much does an accountant cost? For a single small business, you're probably looking at anywhere between £500 and £800 per year to file your taxes. Probably £100 ish, or £150 ish if you do VAT, and that's every 3 months. So potentially you can be looking at around, for a business that's turning over, I'd say between 60 and 100,000 and is VAT registered, you're probably looking at between £900 and £1,400 per year, depending on skills, experience, all of that kind of stuff. So, let's have a look some more. I run a service business on I have a widget on my desktop that tags turnover, currently money. Yeah, brilliant, lovely. Have that big insight into your own business and make sure that you're understanding what it is. They say that the last metric is a calculation which outputs how many billable hours we need to generate each remaining day in the month. Ooh, I like that. So that's a type of forecasting. So that's turning around and saying, okay, and to be fair, I'm not motivated like that, and some people are and some people aren't, and that's great. And one of the things about a business is your business is yours, and so you need to motivate yourself in the way. This person is motivated by having a big thing on their screen that says, you need to build 20 more hours this month, otherwise you're not going to hit your targets. That wouldn't work for me. I'm motivated in different ways, but if it works for you, great. And so experimenting and understanding is all good. The 4Ps, classic: product, price, place, and promotion. Keep reviewing them and deciding if everything works. Yes, that constant feedback loop is really good. SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what are we good at? What are we not good at? Where do we have a chance to make money? Where have we got a chance to lose money? That's effectively what that is. Don't copy the wrong homework. So what platforms have you already built? Capability, capacity, resources. What is your vision? Where is the business life cycle? Again, that's perfect. And I think you need to, if you don't know that in your business, if you don't know the answer to those questions, then you need to find out what those answers are. And the problem with running your own business is you're usually running so hard and so fast to just deliver or to grow that you end up forgetting that you might be running on a treadmill that's broken, or running in the wrong direction, or you might be spending more money than you know. And if you don't stop to look at what your business is actually doing every now and again, it can run itself into the ground. And what we call that underpin is zombie businesses. So insatiable. They just want brains. They just want profit. They just want, they just want whatever it might be that is focusing them, but they're ruining themselves and their business and everyone else around them, because they're not able to see the damage that is being done to themselves, and the damage that is being done to everybody else, and the horrible effect that they're having on other people, people at home, people at the business, people at work. So that's our little adventure through Small Business UK Reddit. I loved it. I thought it was great. What's really good and really interesting is the majority of this stuff is genuinely good. It's genuinely insightful. It's genuinely thoughtful. And actually, if I was a small business and I didn't have the money to spend on a coach, and I could look at things objectively and balance all of the things together and take the good stuff and be kind of inquisitive and curious, some of the stuff on here is good. The problem is it's not all good, and you need to be able to identify what is right and what isn't right. And most importantly, it's an opinion. Some things are facts, but on Reddit, I would treat everything as an opinion. I take it on board and see how you can deliver a plan that is based on not just your own thoughts and not just family and friends' thoughts, but other people's thoughts as well. Read books, go on forums, take it all in, and then decide how you want to go forward. And that involves a small amount of self-confidence to be able to push forward. But if you want to start your own business, at some point you need to go your own way and you need to understand why you're doing it. So thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate it. I hope that you find this useful. I love it and enjoy it. And if you've got any questions or you've got any comments or you'd like me to focus on anything else, please do let me know in the comments below, and I will make sure that we can focus it on a future live stream. So hope you have a great week, and we'll see you again soon.